Hi everyone, my name is Junon. I have a health science background and I'm the author of the book Truth and Empathy, How to Find Your Soulmate. And I'll put a link to the book below. This video is about the romantic compatibility between ENFJs and ENTJs. I think that most people ask themselves the question at some point, who's the best match with another person based on certain characteristics? And I think that MBTI personality types is a good starting point. So let's look at what these two personality types have in common. Obviously, they're both intuitives, and more specifically, they are introvert intuitives. So they have introvert intuition at their second function. So in other words, these are people, when you look at their brain type, is that they have slow alpha brainwave dominance. And when they are gathering data, they don't pay so much attention with the five senses, but they usually get to a download of information. So for someone, let's say, who's a hardcore, sensor, like a sensor judger, it might sound kind of odd, but for someone who is an intuitive feeler or thinker like the ENFJ and the ENTJ, this is something that happens more on a regular basis, so they will be able to understand each other on that level. The other aspect also, obviously, they are judgers, which means that these are people who like to plan, they're organized, reachable, reliable, hardworking, and they will appreciate that in each other. So in other words, they know this person is going to be there for them if there is a need. And also, they don't like surprises, and that might be kind of odd for people who say, well, they are intuitive, so they are more in their heads and they like things that are more abstract. But this is kind of interesting, is that a person can be intuitive, like abstract thought, but still like things that are well organized and have a life that is well planned. So the other point also is that because of the fact that they have introvert intuition as their second function, and they have their brainwave dominance is so alpha, so around 7 cycles per second, it means that even if the energy that they give off, it's usually a positive one. So they'll feel comfortable in each other's energy. Especially, I think the ENTJ will really like the energy that the ENFJ gives off. And although they are both considered extrovert, but when it comes to whether a person is a true introvert extrovert, it has to do with their energy. So because both of these individuals are intuitives at a rather high level, I mean, it's only, I think, the INFJ who has better energy than them, or the INTJ. It means that although they are officially extrovert, but they often will behave as introvert, because it has to do with how the person gets recharged. So if, let's say, a person has high energy, they tend to be drained by other people whose energy is lower than themselves. So you'll see that although they enjoy being with others, they will need more time to recharge than, let's say, someone who was a sensor and an extrovert. An area that will have an issue has to do with the fact that one is a very feminine energy and the other person is a very masculine energy. So if you look at their function cycle, is that ENFJs have extrovert feeling as their first function, whereas the ENTJ has extrovert thinking as its first function. What it means is that one is very focused on the human aspect of any situation, whereas the other person is focused more on logic and what is practical and what needs to be done. So in other words, when they're trying to have a romantic relationship, the ENFJ will often feel that the ENTJ is not warm enough, who doesn't understand, subtleties when it comes to the emotional context of a situation. But interesting enough is the ENTJ will probably be very attracted to the ENFJ because it's such a feminine energy. So you'll see in when it comes to relationships like that, is that the masculine energy tends to be more attracted to the feminine energy than the other way around. So what is going to happen is that the ENFJ, its ultimate goal is to bond because they have a feminine, orderly relationship style, whereas the ENTJ has a very masculine energy, so it's a masculine and orderly type, and their goal ultimately in terms of their relationship has to do with effectiveness. So they're not on the same page when it comes to that. So there might be a situation where the ENFJ, because the ENTJ really wants harmony, might again not express their true needs and wants. So you'll see a situation where the ENTJ might think the relationship is healthier than it actually is. An example would be someone like Oprah that I've assessed as an ENFJ, who would be, let's say, dating someone like Napoleon Bonaparte. I think that this couple, I don't think would last a long time because of the fact that there's this imbalance between the two feminine energy match two masculine energy. So in other words, the only way that would actually go for a long period of time is if the ENFJ or Oprah would have to again not express all their true needs or desires and to sort of like accommodate the masculine energy. So in other words, I would say that this combination might be kind of difficult, and the other aspect is that the ENTJ, being a very left brain dominant, likes to explore things like math and science. Usually they have also a really high IQ, and the ENFJ again is not really usually good in these fields, so their topic of conversation might be kind of difficult in the sense that the ENFJ will want to talk about emotions, feelings, and even in terms of like spirituality, whereas an ENTJ might not want to explore this because it's not an area where they actually are well, let's say, versed in, and also they don't have natural ability in these areas. So to summarize, I would say that they have areas where they overlap in terms of, obviously they're both intuitive, they're both judgers. These are people who are reliable, reachable, and they also want long-term relationships, so they want something solid. But the very fact that one is a very feminine energy and the one is very masculine energy, that's where they're going to have an issue. And again, when it comes to relationships, people who are right brain dominant tend to do much better, and we get a situation where often one will have to sort of deny some of their needs and wants to make the relationship work. So let me know if you agree or disagree with this assessment by commenting below. If you like this video, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and we will talk soon.